What really makes a hero? We all think we know the answer, right? But what if I told you the heroes who built one of the greatest empires in history weren't chasing fame or wealth or even victory? Today, we're going to dive into the foundational stories Rome told about itself, these incredible tales of sacrifice and duty that literally became the moral blueprint for an entire civilization. And right away, you see this fundamental shift in what it even means to be a hero. Think about the Greek ideal, like Achilles. He fought for kleos, immortal personal glory. It was all about his name living on forever. But the Roman hero? He sought something called virtues. And virtues wasn't about you. It was about courage and duty in service to the state, to the res publica. That's a completely different game. Now, here's the thing you've got to understand. It doesn't really matter if these stories are 100% fact-checked history. That wasn't the point. Historians like Livy, he wrote them to be a kind of moral mirror for the Roman people. He wanted to hold it up and say, look, this is what your ancestors valued. This is what true greatness looks like. And this is what's expected of you as a Roman. These stories, they were the very soul of the Republic. Okay, so our first story is all about a man who embodies this raw, physical courage, not for himself, not for glory, but for the simple survival of his community. His name is Horatius Cocles.
So picture the scene. It's 508 BC. The Roman Republic is just a baby, and it's already about to be wiped out. An invading Etruscan army is swarming towards the city gates, and the Roman soldiers who were supposed to be defending the one wooden bridge into Rome, they're panicking. They're breaking ranks, they're running. The city is literally moments away from being sacked.
And as his own side is fleeing past him, one man, Horatius, steps forward. He turns to the terrified soldiers and, as Livy tells it, basically says he's going to face the entire army by himself. His goal isn't to win, it's just to be a human shield. And just look at what he does. He holds the entrance to the bridge all by himself, and he's screaming at his fellow Romans, not to come help him, but to get behind him and tear down the bridge with axes, with swords, with whatever they've got. He's a living, breathing, delaying tactic. He fights, he gets wounded, and just as the final timbers of the bridge are falling, he hurls himself into the river in full armor and somehow miraculously swims to safety. His goal was never glory, it was saving everyone else. So if Horatius shows us physical courage for the Republic, our next hero shows us something that's maybe even harder to find, the moral courage to give up absolute power. This is the incredible story of Cincinnatus. So once again, Rome is in a total crisis. An entire Roman army has been surrounded by an enemy and is about to be annihilated. The Senate is freaking out, so who do they turn to? Their last hope. It's not some powerful general living in a fancy villa. No, it's a guy they find literally digging a ditch on his tiny 4-acre farm. And you gotta love how Livy sets this up. He's practically shouting at his audience, hey you, yeah, you over there, the one who thinks money and luxury is everything, you need to listen to this. He's making it crystal clear that Rome's salvation didn't come from wealth, it came from the simple virtue of a farmer. I mean, this timeline is just staggering. On day one, Cincinnatus is called away from his plow and made dictator, which gives him absolute, unchecked power over everything. Just 8 days later, he's raised a new army, marched to the battle, and saved the trapped Roman soldiers. And then, on day 15, he does the unthinkable. He resigns. He just willingly gives up total control, and by day 16, he's back on his farm, plowing his field. And that one act, walking away from power, made him the ultimate role model for a Republican leader. The idea was that power is a temporary burden you carry for the state, not some prize you get to keep. And this ideal was so powerful that centuries and centuries later, when George Washington resigned his commission after the Revolutionary War, everyone knew exactly what to call him, the American Cincinnatus. All right, our last example is, well, it's probably the most extreme. We've seen courage, we've seen self-denial. Now we're going to see the Roman virtue of fides, or faithfulness, taken to its absolute, chilling conclusion in the story of Marcus Atilius Regulus. So the backstory here is pretty grim. Regulus is a Roman general, and he gets captured in the huge war against Rome's arch-rival Carthage. The Carthaginians send him back to Rome to try and negotiate a peace deal, but there's a catch. He has to give his sacred oath that if the Roman Senate says no, he will voluntarily return to Carthage to face his fate. So Regulus makes it to the Roman Senate, and what's the first thing he does? He gives a powerful speech arguing against the peace deal. As Cicero tells it, he basically said it was a bad deal for Rome. He argued that the Carthaginian prisoners Rome was holding were young and valuable, while he was old and expendable. He was actively sabotaging his own freedom. And he won the argument. The Senate, persuaded by him, rejected the treaty. His one and only path to freedom was now gone. And he knew exactly what was waiting for him back in Carthage. Not a quick death, but horrific torture. So, what did he do? He went back, he honored his oath, he said goodbye to his family, walked out of the safety of Rome, and returned to his captors to face certain agonizing death. This is the ultimate example of fides. For the Romans, this wasn't just about personal integrity. It was the glue that held their entire civilization together. Think about it. If your word, your oath, is meaningless, then laws, treaties, contracts, it all just unravels. Regulus died to prove that that principle was worth more than his own life. So why do these ancient, almost mythical tales still resonate? What made them so important back then, and why should we even care about them now? Well, the answer reveals this profound shift in how the entire Western world thinks about what a hero is. You can see this incredible evolution of the Western hero right here. You start with the Greek hero, who lives for his own personal glory. Then you get the Roman, who sacrifices himself for the earthly city, for the Republic. And that, in turn, sets the stage for the Christian saint, whose service is all for a heavenly city. The virtues might seem similar, but who they're for, that changes everything. And look, these aren't just some dusty historical footnotes. These stories were required reading for any educated person in the West for over 1,500 years. The American founders were absolutely steeped in these ideals of republican virtue. These tales force every single generation to wrestle with these timeless questions about where we fit as individuals within our community. Ultimately, the legacy of Horatius and Cincinnatus and Regulus isn't just about Rome. Their stories strip away all the noise and leave us with one profound and deeply personal question that is just as powerful today as it was 2,000 years ago. What are you willing to sacrifice for? And for whom?